together at the welcome table. We have peace of mind, and will the nation be good and kind? And will we ever learn how to live together, the black and woman, the boy and girl, the black and white next door to each other, and learn how to treat every man like a brother? Will ever come, my Lord? I said it will ever come, my Lord. Will it ever come? Tell me, will it ever come? About tomorrow. Thank you, Jesus. Let me tell you something. Have mercy. If we don't ever get together down here, it'll be sad. But I'm not worried. God, I'm not worried about that right now, no. Cause one of these mornings it won't be long. You're gonna look for Leonard and he'll be gone. I'm going up to heaven to sing and shout, and nobody there is gonna put me out. I'll look up David in the heat of the day, tell him to grab his harp and begin to play. I know my road is gonna fill, cause I tried it on when I was on my way to hell. I said, huh? Lord have mercy. Thank you, Jesus. What we gonna be? What we gonna be like tomorrow? What we gonna be like tomorrow? Amen. Giving honor to the Spirit of Christ, who is the head of my house. Good evening, everybody. Hey, Anna Davis, Dr. Betty Jones. We've got Henrietta, and of course, we thank God. And yes, Dr. Jones, I did get those emails concerning the Fairground project, and I got both of them from. I got some from you, and I got some for Keisha Gibson Carter also. She sent them to me. But I want to tell everybody something about that. Bad government, and we had a conversation on the on ATR, Our Black Network, last night, and I don't know if it was Run Tell That, some kind of dogs. I can't remember which show we was on, but it was myself and Dr. Torrey, Bernard Brown, Julius Hall, and several of the candidates running for city council. Lucia Johannes, Robert Bryant, Tia Brightwell, all of them were on that show last night. And we talked about many issues, but we talked about people not participating because they don't know what the effect would be. The effect in, because they're saying, well, it won't make any difference whether we vote or not. Well, the fact that you've had Dr. Jones and Dr. Harris and others concerned from our community associations with what's going to go on the fairground, and you've already had the the candidate for the 5th District, Robert Bryant, Dr. Robert Bryant, come out and show that he not only interested, but he was not going to allow them to just put anything there on top of those people. And the fact that our current city alderperson has been in favor of them basically forcing things that the community says we don't want down our throat, the way they would never do it in other communities. Nevertheless, the project is so obtuse that former state representative Craig Gordon, who was involved in the project, I think when he realized these people didn't have any money, that they were supposed to be developers now, and they were basically trying to write a governmentally endorsed ticket. He stepped away from them. And you got to remember now that a couple of years ago, Craig was gun-ho, and Craig is a very responsible and a competent businessman. But I think when he realized that all their bravado was exactly just that, it wasn't about the money. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the cash dollar bills. And then in order to kind of try to, I think, appease Estella, the city manager and others stuck with them. To the point they said, well, if they don't have enough money, we'll come up with a scheme. We get some tax credits and we'll get we'll loan some city money. How you gonna be a developer and you need city money, you need tax in order for you to even do any of it? In other words, you don't have your own money, you don't have your own credit, you don't have your own capitalization. But that's what happens when you don't have your proper representation, which is one of the reasons why we're supporting Robert Bryant in this election cycle. And you got to know, now I've supported the Shabazz, not just Estella, but also Yusef Shabazz in every race that they've ever been in up to now. And since I am not a lying person, I do give Estella Shabazz and Yusef Shabazz credit for the times in the past when they really stood up for the black community. Now that's facts. But ultimately Yusef lost his race and therefore his seat, and then Estella kind of lost her way under pressures from Van, the dictator Johnson. Now, why would I say the dictator? Because listen to his response recently when he was asked about the fact that he had gone 4 years. Right now, it's right at 4 years, not allowing 4, and particularly the 3 who've held out, not allowing 4 elected officials to put anything on the agenda to be considered by the full council. Who would do that? And then the other day when he was asked what would he do different since that seemed to have caused a lot of the dysfunction, he said, what would he do different? Listen to this answer. I want y'all to hear this. Because if Van Johnson is reelected, you're talking about dysfunction. You're talking about the black community being neglected. This is crazy. Van Johnson actually said in his next administration to keep down this issue of who can put something on the agenda, his proposal will be that nothing gets put on the agenda except those things approved by the mayor. So what he wants to do, he wants to go down from where he's buffaloed the agenda, items to be considered, voted on by the council, to where he had his little clique on council where these people couldn't even get anything on to consider. And he want to take it down to where it's just him. In other words, whatever he doesn't want to be voted on, even if 5 or 6 or 7 of the other people wanted it on the agenda, his concept for his next 4 years is that if he doesn't want it on there, even if 8 of them want it on there to be considered at a meeting, it doesn't get on the agenda. Who does that? Who even thinks like that? Besides him and Donald Trump. Anyway, that's where I'm at. That's what I need you to understand. So what's at stake? I had a conversation a little while ago with Henrietta Hill. And she's on here. Henrietta, you can call me. Want to talk to you about what we just talked. Hey, Chandra McKitchen, how you doing, darling? Amen. And John McMaster simply wrote the word autocrat. But Henrietta, I want you to call me on my cell phone. I want to, because a lot of times people don't know what's at stake. And I want to talk a little bit about what you and I talked about a few minutes ago. Now, she might have gotten busy and walked away from her computer, because she's usually faster than this. But we'll get her in a little while. But what she and I was talking about was, there she is. Well, what happened? Okay.
Please leave your message for Henrietta.
Okay, that didn't work. Let me try it again.
Hey there.
All right, how you doing?
Oh, good. I was trying to call you.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
A little while ago when we were together, you were talking about an experience you had. Was that today?
That was Halloween, October 31st.
Oh, that was October 31st. That was Halloween.
Yeah.
And you'd gone out to, what were y'all doing?
It was the church outreach ministry for the youth.
Oh, okay.
And so we went to this hotel that's on Montgomery Crossroad, across from the old Kmart. It's a storage place there now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not certain the name of the hotel, but anyway, families live there. And as I was saying earlier, I was amazed because I didn't know that this many different families could stay in one place.
Okay.
How the different rooms we went to, they were like 5 and 6 people living in one room.
And this is on Montgomery Crossroads?
Montgomery Crossroads,
Mm-hmm.
between Abercorn and what you call it, Hoxton, not Hoxton, but
Abercorn and White Bluff.
White Bluff, right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Okay.
Okay,
And so these are families living in this
Families and 3 floors. Most of the kids and families live on the 2nd and 3rd floor.
3 floors. 3 floors
3 floors. Yes, sir.
in Savannah
In Savannah,
in 2023.
2023. And that's, I was telling you too that one person I spoke with, her 60-year-old, she has a 60-year-old son. Another child's like 12, but he's autistic, and 2 other smaller children. She works every day at Wendy's, or something like that.
So people are working.
That's how long she's been. She's working. She's been working, and she doesn't have transportation, but she has said 4 kids. Like, how long has she been here? And she said 4. So I said, well, 4, what's that? She said 4 years. And that blew me right there.
4
Because
years.
there's no way out.
4 years. They've been there
Exactly.
4 years. Oh man, you know,
and the others, I mean, and Shanita delivers over there from time to time where how she knew about it, and it's like there's no way out.
That's basically what you're barely surviving.
Yeah.
Barely surviving, and these are families. These are people who are willing to work, and here's the thing. Now, this is the strange part. You do know we get boodles of money as a result of our homeless statistics. We actually, when we see, most people don't understand how that governmental process for the community block grant development works. We have to compile the statistics as to how many homeless people we got, how many homeless places we have, and when we set all that information in, that's how the federal government decides how much money we're going to receive. Okay.
Okay.
Now, because I'm suing the city of Brunswick about the homeless matter, I got a chance to study. They had received in the last group of monies that they applied for the community grant block development monies. The monies that they got, they got like $250,000 for the homeless. When we looked at what they'd spent on the homeless from that money that they have. Now they've been getting us money year after year after year, mind you. But we only have so far been able to get the accounting for the last year. How much of that $250,000 that they got for the homeless, and they don't have any homeless shelters in Brunswick, it made me shut down the place I had. How much you think they spent out the $250,000 on homeless?
Not very much.
Well, let's try zero.
Oh, I'll get ready to say if it ain't at all. Okay.
Let's try zero. And I said, wait a minute, are you? Because my lawyers, you know, they getting. Matter of fact, they served. The city council had a meeting Wednesday night, and they served them all our suit that we're filing in federal court based on what they've been doing to us concerning not allowing us to care for the people at a church. Now, the reason I'm saying this, and we're coming up to an election, also is because we have not had black Baptist preachers of all the 40 or 50 black churches in Brunswick. They haven't showed up to the fight. They haven't showed up to help us at all. I'm going to say that again. At all. Some of you know preachers and ministers from Brunswick. They haven't showed up at all. Now, how could that be? How can that be? How can it be now? And here's the thing. So this is how the church is supposed to function. Okay? This is how the church is supposed to function.
Yeah.
Watch this. So you talked to me about this afternoon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And someone would say, well, Pastor Mark, we need to pray for them. Well, we're going to do that. That's not all we're going to do. We're going to figure out what we can do for at least one family, if not a few families, immediately. That's how the church functions. That's how the church functions. As long as we didn't see it, didn't know it, we wasn't responsible.
Right.
Now we see and we know our God has allowed us to see it, then we need to put our hands on it.
Oh yeah.
We need to make. Well, here's the thing: a city that collects and distributes $500 million. That's the budget for the city of Savannah now. $500 million. $500 million. Why can't we spend $2 million out of $500 million and fix this homeless problem? Because that's all it would take. Now, wait a minute. Watch what I said.
We can do it. Yeah.
We could spend $2 million a year every year out of $500 million. And what would $2 million every year for the next 10 years do to the homeless circumstance? Everybody that's involved in that homeless thing that has the capacity to become free and freestanding and strong will.
Yeah.
How do you know? Because I've got 2 young men since we had to close out a thing, I plucked 2 of the young men, and they're in my house across the street, the original Resurrected House Ministries.
Yeah.
They're in the house across the street, and they're going to work. They're doing work and stuff in the community. They worked with your husband yesterday and made money.
Amen. You're right. Made good money. You're right.
Made good money. So why can't the church do these things? And why can't the government become party to it? And the other thing I want, me and my daughter, Nikki, Adrian, had a conversation today. Had a simple conversation today. And the conversation was simply how the right leadership at the helm of a city government makes a difference. When Maynard Jackson became the mayor, I think it was at Pascal's, where everybody sat around in the room and discussed and planned out who would be the mayor first, second, third.
Yeah.
Okay, they planned. Maynard won being first. A couple of people got mad, but then they fell in line and said, okay. And by the time Maynard had finished his second term, Atlanta was rising. You gotta catch this. Atlanta wasn't no major nothing. Atlanta and Birmingham were twins. Okay? Atlanta and Columbia, South Carolina were twins. The largest and fastest growing city in the Southeast was actually Charlotte. I want you to catch that.
Yeah.
Atlanta got the right leadership. Maynard got a hold of Herman Russell, the contractor, who basically built the skyline in Atlanta. Herman Russell was a black contractor, and he was with the right heart, and he got all the black subs he could find, and he made black contractors viable. He got the contracts through the city, and he got the contract for the airport. I want you to catch this. Atlanta had an airport, but the airport that they built with black constructions people, black contractors and black subs, 88 set aside contractors, African Americans principally. The airport came in on time and under budget.
Go ahead.
And now, watch this. Little Georgia, the southern back porch basically, Georgia now has the busiest airport on earth.
Oh yeah.
Bigger and more busy than London, Paris, Tokyo, anywhere. I've been I've been to Charles de Gaulle Airport. It don't mess with Maynard Jackson Airport, the Hartfield.
Yeah.
No. It's not even close. I've flown into Morocco. I've flown into South Africa, and I'm telling you, the right leadership That's why we got to get him out of here. That's why he
Yeah.
got to go. We get the right leadership. I want to think, comparative to other large cities, how bad is homelessness in Atlanta? Now you hear about San Francisco, you hear about Portland, Oregon, you hear about Boise, Idaho, you hear about Houston, you hear about, how bad is homelessness in Atlanta? I want you to catch this now. Very important. And Atlanta is a place where blacks thrive.
Oh yeah, call it Black Mecca.
They call it Black Mecca. And so we want people to understand that we can do that here. And we're at the cusp of Savannah becoming the largest logistics hub in America.
Yes, it is.
That's just a fact. Over the next 10 years, money will flow through here, but it will only flow to the richest and the most well-to-do. These people have not decided to spend all this money on making sure that Van Johnson continues simply because they like him. They didn't like him before. They put their money in Deloach before.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, I just wanted people to know that we've got families. Now you say you're a right to lifer. Well, why don't we be concerned with life after it's in the world, not just trying to get it in the world? But thank you, Henrietta.
All right, love you.
I love you. Amen. So I've got a few comments. We've got. Let me see who I got on here. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Anna Davis said, if we did $2 million, I left $500 million, it would eradicate homelessness. You're right. Chandra McKeechin says, because Van and the others don't find value in protecting the poor and the homeless. You're right. Hey, and good evening, Dr. Hall. And Chandra again says, yes, he made millionaires out of many black businesses, talking about Maynard Jackson and those that followed him. And we just want to thank God for this knowledge, this understanding that the right person in that chair, in that mayor's chair, and the right person at this juncture is none other than Keisha Gibson Carter. Now, she is shy to tell you this. She doesn't really want to tell people this is my shirt. That's one of my shirts. This is too small for me, so I'm gonna have to give somebody this little shirt right here. So somebody donated this shirt. I think this is a small. No, they say that's a large. That ain't no large. Okay, I'm gonna let them go with this being a medium. Anyway, but that's Keisha Gibson Carter. Now, but I want y'all to do this. I want y'all to understand something. Because a lot of times we don't want people to get stuff because we think they want to do it because they're trying to get ahead. They're trying to get over. Let me explain something to you. Keisha Gibson Carter and her husband, Sam Carter, they've already gotten over. They just want to make sure somebody else gets a chance. Now, most of you wouldn't know this, and she's going to be mad with me, but she's going to have to get over it. Keisha Gibson Carter and her husband, Sam, are some of the few blacks that live in a place called Jackson Park. Now, there's Habersham Woods, you know where Habersham Woods is, and you know that's a place where a lot of people with a lot of money live. Okay? But in the Habersham Woods area, adjacent to it is a smaller area that's a bit more exclusive in my estimation, called Jackson Park. That's where Keisha Gibson Carter lives. And her husband. Now, she's not been a person to tout that, but that's where she lives. Her and her husband, they don't need this. They don't need the ridicule that she suffered through the newspaper and the press and such. They don't need the castigation that folks have laid on them. She doesn't need, and nor does she deserve the insult of having Curtis Purdy call her in public a black ghetto bee. And her husband is a professional physical trainer of exceptional athletes. He trains young athletes in preparation for them becoming professional athletes at some point in time after they go to some of the best schools, best colleges in the draft. Okay? And as far as being recruited, the people he trained get recruited to some of the best schools and best athletic programs in the nation. He's that good. And so they live in Jackson Park. They've got a fountain in front of their house that's probably 10 feet circle, big fountains, stand up about 12, 15 feet tall in their front yard. See, most of you don't know that. Y'all thinking, well, you know, the sister just trying to get over. She already been over. She got over a long time ago. Her son is in the military. He's teaching college while he's serving in the Army. Her daughter is not long before she's going to graduate with an engineering degree. I think she's at Fort Valley. Her youngest daughter is, I think, a junior. That's my hero. That's the one. That's my buddy. I like her. Casey. Beautiful girl. She's junior at Jenkins High School. This is a loving, responsible, caring family. Sam Carter and Keisha Carter were high school sweethearts, and they've been married for the last 27 years. Stable, solid folk, decent folk. So why would they put themselves through this? Because Keisha Gibson Carter grew up living for a good deal of her life on 36th Street, just off East Broad. And she's gone on to go to school and be educated to the point where she has a master's degree in public administration. She knows what she's talking about. Her husband has a couple of degrees. These are sharp people. These are caring people. And then in her work as an executive director for things like Family Promise and the Safe Shelter, she cared for people who were being beat up and wounded and left out. That's who she is. That's what she is. That's why she's passionate. Not because it's a career move or she's going to use it as a stepping stone. That's not just what she does. That's who she is. So, I can make you this promise. A series of promises, actually. If we elect Keisha Gibson Carter mayor of Savannah, and hopefully surround her with the other candidates that you can look up on our blog, Leonard's blog, or Unity Political Action Committee. If you will help us to elect these people, I can promise you One, the Weeping Time property would be saved for posterity. Two, the homeless people living in a hotel, some of them up to 4 years from what Henrietta just said, that issue will be addressed succinctly. That means quickly, in short order. Three, that opportunities for upward mobility for African American businesses will be commensurate, on par with the abilities for financing and upward mobility for the white community. One of the things that make white people nervous about outspoken black folks is they think that when black folk get in charge, they're going to neglect, hurt, or harm white folk. Two things you need to know. First of all, can't pull it off. It's too late. The white business community have too much of a head start, and they have too much wind in their sails because, watch this, the white community runs the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce, the last time I checked, which was several years ago, was getting $12 million from the city of Savannah. There is a Spanish Chamber of Commerce that gets funding from the city of Savannah. They said they were trying to put together a black Chamber of Commerce, but it's the same people who've been circling around the mayor, and I think they get some change, but they don't get the money that the Spanish get, and they don't even think about what white folks getting with the Chamber of Commerce and the Savannah Economic Development Authority. Keisha is for the voiceless, Henrietta says. I started counting down how long it would be before we could have this election about 30-some months ago. I said, it ain't gonna be long. It might feel like a long way now. But right now, 72 hours. 72 hours and 72 hours and 14 minutes from when the 72 hours and 14 minutes from when the polls are going to close. 3 days from when the polls are going to close. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. In 72 hours, we can decide whether or not we are for sale. This is not the final report. This is the one he did at the end of October. This is how much money they've given the white business community, principally the Republican white business community, have given Van R. Johnson. This one was $586,000, almost $600,000 for a job that pays $60,000 a year. That ought to feel funny. Get out here and vote. The white business community have changed horses. Last time they gave Eddie DeLoach a little over 200-some thousand. Why would they give Van Johnson nearly 600,000? Because they know, and they've seen, and they've watched him, pour money into them, into their coffers. Give them anything they want every time they want. But he's also been up there when, in the city of Savannah, I want you to hear this, in the city of Savannah, with a majority black population, about 56%, based on some studies, of the citizens in Savannah are African American. There are about 600 alcohol licenses. Y'all know I don't like the idea of giving people liquor and drinking and stuff like that. I'm a Deepwater Hardshell Pentecostal. I don't believe in drinking alcohol as a beverage. But I know fair when I see it. How in the world could you have, in 2023 in Savannah, Georgia, over 600 alcohol licenses and less than 10 to African Americans? And when they came up to try to get them before this council, led by this mayor, they would approve all the others and pluck the African American ones out separate. They'd go ahead and vote in a block to approve a group of maybe 8, 10 of them, and pluck out the African Americans and then grill them and then vote them down. In one case, Linda Wilder Bryant said, I know they've met all the conditions. They've dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, but they didn't come to me. And they voted for those people who had spent nearly $150,000, if I remember correctly, to get everything together, and had lawyers come down from Atlanta and all. And said, yes, you've dotted all the I's, you crossed all the T's, you've done everything, but because you didn't come to me. And then what was strange about it, and I was bothered with Linda doing that, but she'd been doing stuff anyway. But I was bothered with her doing that. But what bothered me more was Stella Shabazz voted with her. And I asked her, I said, well, why'd you vote with her? The people, these are black people that are trying to do business. Why'd you vote with her? Well, I support the if it's going to be in somebody's district, I support whatever the district person wants in their district. Really? That would be like someone's on trial for rape. And because the foreman of the jury says we're gonna go ahead and find this person guilty, even if you believe the person is not guilty, you're gonna go along with the group. Send somebody to prison. Maybe for the rest of their life. These people did it. And see, I come out of the civil rights movement. I come from a time when, as a little boy, I wore leather straps across my shoulders that was connected to plywood signs saying we were boycotting a store called Bargain Corner. And as a little boy, we brought that store to its knees because they were unfair. They were doing exactly what we shouldn't have done, what they shouldn't have done. I was 12 years old, walking up and down in front of Bargain Corner with signs on, protesting the fact that we couldn't be cashiers. We could only be bag boys or sweep up the store. we didn't see. We had a hope that if we could ever get to the point where we had parity, that we could elect some of us, and they would be fairer to us than white folks had been, just to put it bluntly. I was 12 years old. I am now 73. That means for 60 some years, I've been fighting, marching, demonstrating, lobbying, crying, screaming, basically sometime at the top of my lungs, to be treated the way folks are treated by an accident of their birth. But just matter of fact that they were born white. They didn't earn it, they didn't even know it was gonna happen. I've been struggling to receive what others are bequeathed at birth. And you say, well, it's not fair. No, it's not fair, but life doesn't have to be fair. Jesus was crucified. Julius Hall says that means that he has done a better job for the establishment than any mayor ever. So, and that's true. Let me tell you how obtuse he has been. I think Savannah, Georgia, has about a 280 or 90 year history from its founding. Never in the history of Savannah, Georgia, has there ever been a time when a white person was not running for mayor. Never, not once, until now. And then the one black they got running for mayor, they've given him nearly 3 times what they gave the last white guy, because they don't need a white guy. You notice that thing about all those billionaires whining and dining and paying for vacations and all kinds of perks for Clarence Thomas? That's what's happening with Van right now. If someone else has a couple of comments you'd like to make on the line, on air, you can call me and ask a question, give a comment before we close out. Dr. Jones says at the end of the day, no matter how much they have given and done for others, when it's all said and done, they are still black and will not be allowed to go but so far. So anybody wants to call, the number is 912-695-7169. You do not have to be from Savannah or in Georgia or even in the United States. Chandra says, wow, this is the result of gentrification, allowing Airbnbs where there could be affordable housing. Also, a lack of affordable housing and not mandating rent caps. Chandra also says, bought and paid for by the politicians. Faith without works is dead. Let me see. When I was talking about Maynard Jackson, Chandra said he made millionaires out of many black businesses. And the residual effect of that is that black millionaires are still being made in Atlanta. Those are facts. So, if anyone wants to call in, you can call 912-695-7169, 912-695-7169. I'm only going to be on a few more minutes because one of us is a bit tired. We've been running and hustling hard this week. Like I told you, I just filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Brunswick for breaching our constitutional rights. Okay. Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones? Dr. Jones, you on the air?
Yes, sir.
Okay, how you doing?
I'm doing quite well. Quite well. We have been fighting. We have been going on, and we have been uplifting Keisha for mayor. We have been uplifting Alicia for post 2.
Amen.
We have also been doing Dr. Bryan for
5th District.
5th District.
Yep.
And even though we're not in other districts that's running, we have been doing Rashida Edwards and the others that have that we have on the ballot. And
thing that I wish that our people will do is wake up and smell the roses.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing about it is that a lot of things that we know now, and I can speak for myself, if it had not been for Alicia and Keisha and Bernetta, we wouldn't know.
That's true.
We wouldn't know what would be happening in our communities and in our neighborhoods. They talk about transparency. The transparency is not there. Promises that were made were broken, and especially when it came to the fairground, when we were supposed to be at the table all the time, we knew nothing about what was going on there.
Yes.
They knew that we didn't want housing, but they started out with housing. We wanted things for our children to be able to have access to, so that they would be able to be good citizens.
Right.
And not only that, good students, because we even wanted a library on the fairground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the fairground was not asked for during the time of Mayor Jackson, just for Fowler Park, Tatumville, Sylvan Terrace. It was being asked for the city called Savannah, because that was the largest piece of property that was there in the city at that time.
Yes.
Some people are sitting back thinking that it's in your neighborhood. You don't have it should be all right, but they do not realize that it's coming their way.
Mm-hmm.
I passed down Bull Street today, and if anybody has been there to see how they have cleared out almost completely behind JEA.
Yes.
On next door, that if people have been a part of it, on next door, some people were asking, "Do you know what's going on?"
Nope.
What they're doing behind, on Bull Street. It's because they're not paying attention to what's going on in the community in Savannah.
Dr. Jones.
Especially when you start talking about some of the things that's happening, and somebody had the question, "But I didn't know that." Well, we are trying to tell you this so that you will make informed decisions when you go out and vote. We need to vote for the person that's going to look out for us.
Dr. Jones.
We understand that they can't look out for just blacks, but we want them to look out for all of us.
Amen.
But we do definitely need not just a little bit. And when we take and have our the sploshers and all of these things going on, once they'll say one thing, they'll include us in, even when they've talked about the Springfield Canal and all of these other things. But then once they get the money, it's reappropriated.
Yep.
And it goes downtown in the tourist area. Or go into some other area, and we are still lacking and we're still having flooding, and we're still having things going on in our neighborhood. And sometimes I get people say the 5th District Coalition and the President's Collaborative are too loud too. We don't get paid for what we do, but we have a passion for what go on in our neighborhood, because we live there, and if it affects one of us, it's going to affect all of us. But we continuously see people talk about that group of ladies that's trying to fight for our rights. and somebody else may want to talk, so I'm not going to try to take up all the time, but they need to go out, and if they have not voted, they need to go vote. So if you don't vote, and if you allow him to get back in, and things start going haywire, it's no need of saying it's too late then.
That's true.
It's too late when you can't go and these things start impeding your neighborhood that you can't afford, and you have to move out. So you need to stop and think about how the effect that it's going to have on you as a citizen, as a resident in these neighborhoods. And many of us have been here all of our lives in these neighborhoods, and we have seen it go from one place to another.
Amen.
Because we know that the black neighborhoods have been prosperous in some ways, because one thing about it, we had that neighborhood love for one another. If I had and you didn't have, we would take in share, and all of us would have.
Amen.
But now that seems to be lacking in our neighborhoods and in our community, and we need to get that back, and we need to start. And I know, Pastor, when you were talking about things during the time that you were in the civil rights, one thing about it, we could have confidence in our leaders at that time.
That's true.
Because what they said, they did. But it's hard. It's kind of hard now when people talk about transparency and people talk about having a link in the table, and you can't even get to the table because they got barbed wire spread around the table. You can't even get too close to it.
Lord have mercy.
So we need to stop and think about how much or what have they done for us? What have they done for our communities? And if you're not living in a black neighborhood, it's still coming your way. I see it coming over in Sylvan Terrace as well as all the way down. And Owsley Park think it's not going to affect them. It's going to affect Owsley Park as well as Havisham. We're being overflooded with apartments that's not affordable, but luxury apartments with commercial buildings being underneath. And I'm going to stop there. So
Amen.
You love your pastor. Y'all have a good day.
And y'all be blessed. You're on point, Dr. Jones. And we thank God for her being someone who stands up in our community. Again, thank you. Being someone who stands up in our community. Okay, well, again, thank you. Let me cut that down. We just thank each and every one of you for participating in this process, but more that you might go out and vote. That you might go out and vote. If you don't vote, the situation out, those people out in that hotel, it's going to be exacerbated. It's going to be more, not less. Strange as it might seem, with Dr. Jones doing all that speaking, how can it be that sophisticated folk like myself and Dr. Jones, who are involved in the community, have no idea what's being built behind JEA? Apartments, a school, or whatever. People who live in Sylvan Terrace, whose land and housing values, their homes, whether an investment or their residences, are going to be affected by whatever's built there, and we don't know what's going there. There are proposals to build apartments, multi-storied apartments on Bull Street in the 58th, 59th Street area, across from the southern end of Owsley Park. Also, at the northern end of Owsley Park on Bull Street, near 44th, 45th, 46th Street, multi-story apartment buildings, which will negatively impact the home values in Owsley Park, going from Bull Street to Abercorn over to Havisham. People whose homes have significant values in terms of their personal net worth will be affected. Now, lastly, when we was on last night, I pointed out the fact that Nick Palumbo was running around saying if I get elected, we'll get another $7 or $8 million we could put in to stop this storm water flooding we have in our community. Since 1989, through the special local options sales tax, SPLOST monies, we've spent more than $160 million in stormwater abatement. Why would he tell these people he could do anything that would fix anything as far as flooding with $7 or $8 million? There are only two reasons. One, first of all, he didn't do any studying to know what it would take. Or secondly, he did do the studying, and he just thought he could tell y'all anything because y'all don't understand. You wouldn't know. He's your representative. In either case, he shouldn't be representing you. Our candidate for that position is Sarah Lucia Johannes. Sarah Lucia Johannes. She's running for the 4th District. You want better? Vote Miss Johannes in. She's a graduate of Savannah State University, a mother. She has activism in her bloodstream in terms of caring for the community. She is the daughter of the former professor, J.A. Johannes, from Savannah State University, who educated and changed the lives of thousands spread out across America during his career as a college professor and a pastor, former pastor of Abyssinia Missionary Baptist Church for years, decades. As we prepare to leave you, we have a minister in our church, Stephanie Burnett, and she came from Detroit, which was a hot mess with black leadership, okay? The wrong black man for a long time. He ended up going to prison, by the way. Stephanie says, if they do it like they did in Detroit, they'll put the parking lot underground so that local businesses don't even get incidental commerce. And there you go. As we prepare to leave you, just thank God for you and admonish, listen. Somebody says if you don't vote, don't complain. I'm going to tell you this. If you don't get out and vote for the right people, it won't matter if you complain or not. This is Reverend Dr. Leonard Small with another edition of Tell It Like It Is. Be blessed.